In last video we have studied the glomerular filtration. What is glomerular filtration? What is renal blood flow? What is renal plasma flow? What is GFR and what is filtration fraction? Once more we can go through that. This is the amount of blood pumped out from the kidney, means 1100 to 1200 ml of blood pumping passing out through the different nephrons of the kidney, and this 1100 to 1200 ml of blood is 1/5 of the blood pumped out by the heart, means 20% of the total blood pumped out by the heart will pass through the kidney, and that 1100 to 1200 ml of blood will be filtered or passed out from 1 to 2 millions of the nephron of the kidney. So this is the amount of blood that will pass through this afferent arteriole. This is efferent arteriole, and this will pass through this glomerulus also. So the constituents of this blood is 55% is renal plasma or blood plasma, and 45% is formed elements. So renal plasma will be filtered through this glomerulus. Here this renal plasma is filtered through this glomerulus. These we have already studied in the earlier video. Means out of 1100 to 1200 there is 650 renal plasma passing through this glomerulus, and that will be filtered. So we know a renal blood flow. This is renal blood flow, and the value of this renal blood flow is 1100 to 1200 ml per minute. Okay, and what is the renal plasma flow? So renal plasma flow is means out of this 1100 to 1200, 55% is renal plasma, and the value of this renal plasma flow is 650 ml per minute, and this will be filtered by the ultrafiltration mechanism. Okay, so this is a renal blood flow and this is a renal plasma flow. So what is GFR? As we know, GFR means amount of renal plasma that will be filtered by this glomerulus through the mechanism of ultrafiltration. This is known as a glomerular filtration, and this is GFR is as we have already studied 125 ml per minute, and this is the filtrate accumulated here in this Bowman's capsule. This is Bowman's capsule, and this will be accumulated here in this Bowman's capsule. Okay, so GFR is equal to 125 ml per minute. Per minute. This will be 125 ml per minute or 7.5 ml per hour and 180 liters per day. Means this is 125 ml per minute. GFR value is 125 ml per minute, and if we will calculate it in per hour, then it will be 7.5 liters per hour. Means this will be multiplied by 60. So it will turn into 7.5 liters per hour, or we can say 180 liters per day. So this will be the value of GFR. Now one more thing we should know, what is filtration fraction? Means what fraction of this renal plasma will be filtered into the Bowman's capsule, and that is known as GFR. So what is the fraction? So filtration fraction is equal to fraction is the ratio or amount of blood filtered by the glomerulus per minute out of 650. So this will be GA for renal plasma flow. This is renal plasma flow. This one is renal plasma flow. This is renal plasma flow. So renal plasma flow, sorry, it will be GFR by renal plasma flow into 100. Okay. So the value will be 125 by 650 into 100. Almost it is 5 times almost, and it will turn into or little bit more than 5 times. So 125 if cut by 650 is divided by 125, it will be little bit more than 5. So we can consider it is 5, and then it will be 20%, means out of 650 20% renal plasma will be filtered out in this woman's capsule. So value will be 20%. Now if this filtrate will pass into the PCT, and what is the role of this PCT? What is the function of this proximal convoluted tubule? What will happen to the fate of this filtrates when it will pass through this proximal convoluted tubule, when it will pass through this loop of Henle, when it will pass through the DCT? It's not PCT, it is DCT. It will pass through the DCT, and what will be the fate of that filtrate when it will pass through the collecting tubules? So the function today, the lecture will be delivered on the topic of functions of the kidney tubules, means function of proximal convoluted tubules, function of loop of Henle, function of distal convoluted tubules, function of collecting ducts. Step by step we can calculate it, we can understand in details about all the things. Okay, so let's see what will be the function of this structure. Now we can understand the role of this proximal convoluted tubule. The main function of this proximal convoluted tubule to maintain the osmolarity and pH of the body fluid. Body fluid means blood. Okay, so its role is to maintain the blood flowing in the body, means in this part. If this is peritubular capillaries, and when the blood will pass through this, its osmolarity goes down. Okay, so the role of this PCT to maintain the osmolarity of this peritubular body fluid, I mean peritubular capillaries, the blood present in the peritubular capillaries, or the osmolarity and pH of the body fluid, means blood, how it will be maintained. So there are two important functions of this proximal convoluted, means maintenance of osmolarity and pH of body fluid. This is the function, main function of this proximal convoluted tubule, this proximal convoluted tubules. How? By the mechanism of tubular reabsorption and selective secretion. Tubular reabsorption and selective secretion. These two important physiology that will be performed by this proximal convoluted tubules, so that these two mechanisms can maintain the osmolarity of the body fluid. Now the question arises, what is the osmolarity of the body fluid? What will be the osmolarity of body fluid? Here, see, the osmolarity means amount of ions present in unit volume of the blood or water. So the osmolarity generally in human body 300 milliosmol per liter. When it will pass through the glomerulus, the filtrate will accumulate here, means due to ultrafiltration, water, ions, other materials, other organic nutrients will pass or filtered out in excess amount through this glomerulus. Then what will happen here when it will pass through the efferent arteriole? Here the osmolarity will go down, the osmolarity of the body fluid will go down. So this PCT again helps in tubular reabsorption and selective secretion, means tubular reabsorption of ions, water, organic nutrients. Tubular reabsorption means that will pass from this PCT into the peritubular capillaries to maintain the osmolarity. And selective secretion means some of the material will come add up in this PCT, that will be present in excess amount in interstitium or in body fluids. Okay, so this is known as selective secretion. This is selective secretion, and selective secretion of K plus ion, NH3 and H plus ion. But how this whole mechanism occur here in this process, means due to tubular reabsorption and selective secretion, how this will happen, what amount of the material actively reabsorbed, what amount the material and what kind of material will be passively reabsorbed or osmotically reabsorbed, and what will be the amount of nutrient facilitated or passively reabsorbed from this PCT into the peritubular capillary. Let us see. See, this is the interstitium or tissue fluid, means the space between the tissues here is known as interstitial space, and the fluid present is a tissue fluid or interstitial fluid. So there is the low concentration here in this one. Osmolarity is low, osmolarity low, there is low osmolarity, low. Okay, means less than this. It means there is hypotonic condition in this peritubular, hypotonic condition of the body fluid in peritubular capillaries. What is the meaning of hypotonic, hypertonic and isotonic? Listen here. If the osmolarity of the body fluid or interstitial fluid less than 300 milliosmol per liter, it is known as hypotonic. Hypotonic solution means hypotonic. See, hypotonic means osmolarity less than 300 milliosmol per liter. Osmolarity less than 300 milliosmol per liter. Okay, if it is less than 300 milliosmol per liter, it is known as hypotonic. Hypertonic means osmolarity greater than 300 milliosmol per liter, and isotonic means osmolarity is equal to 300 milliosmol per liter. Okay, this is the terminology, this is the meaning of hyper, hypo and isotonic. So here there is the hypotonic due to filtration, ultrafiltration. Now what will happen? To maintain this osmolarity, these peritubular capillaries will reabsorb Na plus, Cl minus, SCO3 minus Mg++ like this will reabsorb from the interstitium, from the tissue fluid. Now what will happen? Here the concentration of electrolyte will go down, again the osmolarity will be down. Here initially the osmolarity is higher. Now it will, this cells, this is cuboidal epithelial cells, brush border cuboidal epithelial cells, it will actively, means from this PCT to this cells will actively reabsorb. Actively means there is the sodium potassium pump mechanism here. So it will start reabsorbing Na+, Cl minus, bicarbonate minus, Mg++ like this, sulfate, phosphate, all these. So it will reabsorb actively. This is active reabsorption. It will start reabsorbing actively, means there is the pump here, and this pump is known as sodium potassium pump, Na+, K+ pump, and it contains ATPase, means ATPase. This is ATPase, means ATP dependent. It will lose ATP, hydrolyzes ATP to pump out the sodium ion. Now this will send sodium here. The sodium will go because sodium is down here, and now sodium will be up here. So it will higher to lower concentration, it will move, and this will also move actively from here to here. This will also go here, and magnesium also. Okay, so this is active process, active reabsorption. Now means there are two different types of reabsorption process: active reabsorption, active, and this is passive. Actively reabsorb Na+, K+, Cl minus, SCO3 minus, sulfate, phosphate, sulfate like this. These will be reabsorbed. Now it will continue reabsorb till the osmolarity in the body fluid and PCT will not attain equal. If this will be the isotonic condition, then it will stop. Now this is active process. Now what will be the passive process? What amount of material will be passively? Means this process. So here from this PCT to this one, water will move osmotically, and osmosis is the passive process. That is the passive process. So this is by osmosis. It will be absorbed by osmosis, and H2O, this is H2O, and some amount of, little amount of urea also reabsorbed from here passively. This is passive process. Osmosis, this will be osmosis, by osmosis it will be reabsorbed. Now question arises, what percent of this water reabsorbed? 70 to 80% water, 70 to 80% water. And what percent of sodium chloride reabsorbed? It is also 70 to 80%. Okay, so there is the isoosmolar reabsorption of water and electrolyte, both this one and this one reabsorbed from the PCT into the peritubular capillaries in equal amount. So there is the isoosmolar reabsorption. Then it will turn, here it will turn 300 milliosmol per liter, and when it will attain 300 milliosmol per liter, and this region also will attain 300 milliosmol per liter, and this will also attain 300 milliosmol per liter, then the reabsorption will be in dynamic state. Okay, so it cannot stop, but it will be in dynamic state, but there is the equal concentration. It means this entire part of the cortex of, this is cortex part of kidney, this is cortex. So cortex part, this cortex part has 300 milliosmol per liter osmolarity. This is the cortex region. Here we are watching here, this is 300 milliosmol per liter, this is also 300 milliosmol per liter, this is also 300 milliosmol per liter. If there will be the gradient in this concentration, it will continue reabsorbing. Okay. Now, what is secretion? Selective secretion. Some of the material here in interstitium, this is interstitium. So here some of the material present in excess amount, just like H plus, K plus and NH3. This potassium will pass through this pump, means 3 NaI will pass to exchanged by the 2 potassium ion. So this potassium ion will be exchanged at the place of sodium ion. So it will be secreted here and here, and this will also gain. This is known as selective secretion. This is selective secretion. Okay. So second point we can write in the role of this tubular reabsorption. One more thing I missed here. Tubular reabsorption. One more thing, passively reabsorbed through the facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion means here there is the co-transporter protein. Suppose in this region there is the co-transporter protein in this region. There is the co-transporter protein in this brush border cuboidal epithelium. Here in this one there is the co-transporter protein. So that co-transporter proteinous channel, this is co-transporter proteinous channel, and that co-transporter proteinous channel will help in reabsorption of organic nutrient through the facilitated diffusion. Means glucose, amino acids, these will be facilitatedly reabsorbed from this PCT, this glucose, here glucose and amino acids present in excess amount. If it will pass through the urine, then the disease will be termed as, just if excess amount of glucose is passing out through the urine, then it is termed as glycosuria. Means there is the conditions of glycosuria, and later this will turn into diabetes mellitus. Okay. So here this glucose cannot pass out, so it will be facilitatedly reabsorbed. 100% both 100% will be reabsorbed, means these two 100% reabsorb. So there is the reabsorption of glucose, amino acid, and these two 100% reabsorb. This is 70 to 80% from the PCT, 80% from the PCT. This also 70 to 80% from the PCT. Okay. So these two are isoosmolar reabsorption. There is the isoosmolar reabsorption. Now the question arises here, why this glucose or amino acid? When amino acid will also pass out through the urine, this is known as amino aciduria. So these two can create abnormalities in kidney. So this needs to reabsorb from the PCT into the peritubular capillaries. Okay. Now what will happen? Why this glucose and amino acid passing out through this? There is the renal threshold of this organic nutrient. These two are organic nutrients, these two are organic nutrient. There is the renal threshold value of this nutrient or other electrolyte also in this renal plasma. renal threshold value of the glucose is 160 to 180 mg per deciliter per 100 ml of the blood. So if this will reach excess than this renal threshold, means if the glucose level exceeds more than 180 mg per deciliter of the blood, then it will start filtered out through this glomerulus. Okay, and when it will start filtered out, it can pass through the urine. But we can see there is the high threshold reabsorption, means these two are essential organic nutrients. These two again reabsorbed from this PCT into the peritubular capillaries. That is known as high threshold reabsorption. Okay, there are three different conditions: high threshold, low threshold, and a threshold reabsorption. So here high threshold reabsorption of the glucose and amino acid, these two are high threshold material, and these two be reabsorbed from PCT into the peritubular capillaries. Okay. Now one more question: if we can remove this PCT, we can cut this section of kidney tubule, what will happen? The urine will be diluted or urine will be concentrated. Since this portion reabsorbs water in maximum amount, 80% water reabsorbed from the PCT, 80%. Out of 100%, 80% is reabsorbed from this. That will maintain the hyperosmolarity. Later we will study hyperosmolarity in the inner medullary intestine. So if you are removing this section, what will happen? Excess amount of water is passing out through this kidney tubule, and it will expel out or eliminated out in excess amount. 80% is water discharging from your urine, from kidney. Then what will happen? Urine will be diluted. If you will remove this, the urine will be, if you are removing the PCT of the kidney tubule or nephron, then the urine will be diluted. Okay. What is the next role of this PCT? The next role of this PCT is selective secretion. This is B, selective secretion. And selective secretion of this PCT, selective secretion of H plus, K plus and NH3, these are present in excess amount in interstitium. That's why this will be selectively secreted into the peritubular capillary to maintain the pH and osmolarity of this body fluid, Okay. Now we can understand the role of or function of loop of Henle. We have already studied the function of proximal convoluted tubule. Now the filtrate will pass here in this one, in the loop of Henle, descending limb of loop of Henle. So we can understand the function of or role of loop of Henle. As it will enter into the loop of Henle, descending limb of loop of Henle, here the osmolarity is 300 milliosmol per liter. Because this is located in cortical region, we can consider this segment of loop of Henle as thick segment. Actually this is the part of the loop of Henle, proximal convoluted tubule. As it will enter here, just before entering into the descending limb, the osmolarity will be 300 milliosmol per liter. Now what is the function of this loop of Henle? This is loop of Henle, this part and this part is loop of Henle, LOH, loop of Henle. So what is the role of this loop of Henle? Actually the role of the loop of Henle is to maintain the hyperosmolarity in the inner, this is inner medullary region, inner medullary interstitium, this is interstitial region, means the space outside this kidney tubule known as interstitial region or interstitial space, and the fluid present here called interstitial fluid. Okay, so the role of this one, the role of this loop of Henle is to maintain hyperosmolar concentration, hyperosmolarity in the inner medullary interstitial region. Once it is generated, and then it will be maintained in hyperosmolar condition. We are discussing about the human kidney. So hyperosmolar means more than this 300 milliosmol per liter, the concentration will be here in this region, means ionic concentration will be higher, much more higher. Now what will happen in this region? See, as the filtrate will pass in this region, suppose this is the filtrate and it is passing from this region, this is filtrate and filtrate is passing. So as this will pass in this region, the thin and thick ascending limb of loop of Henle gets activated. In this region, in the thin limb of loop of Henle is little bit permeable for urea, so urea will diffuse into it, and little amount of water also diffuse into thin limb, but no electrolyte. As it will pass, the electrolyte will also pass here. See, the cells present in the wall of ascending limb of loop of Henle, especially the thick limb of loop of Henle, thick ascending limb of loop of Henle, it has two parts. First, this is lumina of the ascending limb of loop. Here, this is known as, this surface is known as luminal surface, and this one is known as basolateral. This is known as basolateral surface, and this one is known as luminal surface. This is luminal surface, luminal surface. Okay, so luminal surface has this type of proteinous channel, and this is co-transporter proteinous channel. This is co-transporter proteinous channel. This is co-transporter proteinous channel, protein channel. Okay, what is the meaning of co-transport protein channel, and what is the meaning of anti-transport channel? These are anti-transport channel or sodium potassium pump. Suppose this is anti-transport channel, this is also protein channel. Some are anti-transport channel and some are sodium potassium pump channel. So here there are many channel in this basolateral region of the cell, in the cell present over in the wall of the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle. Now what will happen? What is the meaning of co-transporter protein channel, and what is the role of this co-transporter protein channel? This co-transporter protein channel will actively, here will actively means by using ATP, it will throw out sodium ion, and along with this sodium ion, in same direction, it will pass through chloride ion, and it will also pass potassium ion. All these three are passing in same direction together. That's why this is known as co-transporter. Co means together. Together they are passing. Okay. So these are passing into here. Okay. But co-transporter channel, this is 2 chloride ion will pass here. So this one is known as, this co-transportation protein is known as sodium potassium dichloride 2Cl minus channel. This is sodium potassium dichloride channel. This one is sodium potassium dichloride channel, and this is co-transporter channel because these all are passing in the same direction. And this sodium ion will actively thrown out here. This will actively thrown out here in this interstitium. This is interstitium. So this will actively throw out. This will actively throw out in this interstitial fluid. This will be added into interstitial fluid. So this pump will be sodium potassium pump. Okay. So as this sodium will be passed out, some of the potassium will be reabsorbed here. This potassium will go inside this potassium. The potassium will go inside it. This potassium will go inside it. So potassium will come inside it through this channel. The potassium will add, and when it will add, some of the potassium will move back into here in this lumen, means it will be added into the filtrate. What will be the fate of this chloride ion? This will go out. This chloride ion actively go out. This will actively go out, and this will be thrown out. So here Cl minus sodium ion. So these will join to form NaCl electrolyte. Okay. So their concentration will added into the interstitial fluid. Suppose first time their concentration is here 300 milliosmol. Then as this electrolyte will add, its concentration will go up 400, and again it will go up 600, it will go at 800, and down it will turn into 1000, and in the deep inner medullary interstitium its concentration will go 1200 milliosmol per liter. So the role of this loop of Henle to generate hyperosmolar condition in the inner medullary interstitial region, means here there is the hyperosmolar condition, hyperosmolarity. This is the role of the loop of Henle. Once it is generated hyperosmolarity, it is maintained in the same condition so that the urine might be passed out in concentrated amount. Otherwise it will fluctuate. There will be the fluctuation in the urine concentration also. So once it is generated up to this 1200 milliosmol per liter, it will be maintained in the same condition. It cannot be removed out, it cannot be washed out, it can be maintained. So it will continuously remove out. So function of this loop of Henle, generation and maintenance of hyperosmolar condition in inner medullary interstitium. Okay, hyperosmolar condition in inner medullary interstitium. Okay, this is the role of this loop of Henle. How? Because this segment is the ascending limb of, it has two limbs, descending, this one is descending and this is ascending limb. So loop of Henle has two parts. It has two parts. First is descending limb, and second one is ascending limb. Okay, so as we are watching here, ascending limb of loop of Henle is permeable for electrolyte but impermeable for water. Ascending limb of loop of Henle is permeable for electrolyte and impermeable for water. This ascending limb of loop of Henle, this is permeable for electrolyte, but impermeable for H2O. There is no specific passage for removal of water from this region. Okay. Now what will happen in this region, in the thick limb of this, will create hyperosmolarity here, hyperosmolar condition. This is hyperosmolar condition, osmolarity. This is hyperosmolarity. We can compare it with this 300 milliosmol per liter. Here also 300, here also 300 in cortex region. So with respect to 300, this condition is hyperosmolar condition. Once it is attained, it will be maintained in the same conditions. It is maintained 1200 milliosmol per liter. Okay. Now, as it will move up, salt is coming out, salinity increases in inner medullary interstitium, means salt concentration increases here, salinity, there is a high salinity, here we can write there is high salinity, salinity is high salinity in this region, high salinity region, this is high salinity region. Now what will happen, as it will move, this filtrate will move, there will be the hypotonic solution, hypotonic filtrate, because salt is coming out in this region. There will be the deficiency of salt in this filtrate. So here there will the hypotonic solution. So what will be the amount of solute present in unit volume of the filtrate? So here the solute concentration or the solution will turn into 100 to 200 milliosmol per liter. This is 100, here there will be 100 milliosmol. We can write this side 100 milliosmol per liter. It will turn to 100 milliosmol per liter. There is very low concentration of this solute in this ascending limb of loop of Henle, especially in anterior part of the DCT, means proximal part of the DCT. Now what will happen, salt is going up, here the concentration in medullary region is going up. This is the high salinity concentration with this limb and this limb. Here there is the concentration gradient created in between the descending limb of loop of Henle and the interstitium. This is descending limb of loop of Henle. There is a concentration gradient created in between the descending limb of loop of Henle and interstitium. What will happen? This is descending limb. So concentration gradient created. Now this concentration gradient will be maintained in isotonic condition with this limb of loop of Henle. Now how this will be maintained? There is many proteinous channel here in this region. There are many proteinous channel like this. This is proteinous channel. These are proteinous channel, and these proteinous channel are known as aquaporine type 1. This is aquaporine type 1. This is aquaporine type 1 proteinous channel. Okay, aquaporine, and this aquaporine will passively, means this will allow the water to move out. This will allow the water to move out, means it will passively or osmotically will allow the water to move out. This water will come out. There will be the water will come out. There will be removal of water through this aqua. Aqua means water for in this channel or pore. So this is one type of aquaporin channel that will allow or that will permit the water to add up in the medullary interstitium. Now as this will move out, remove out the water, the concentration in this descending limb of loop of Henle will also rise. It will be equalized. Here 400, then here also 400. Here 600, then here also it will attain 600. If it is 800, it will also 800. And if there is 1000, it will be also 1000. And in this region, it will turn into 1200. It means there is the high concentration, means large amount of solute is passing out from this region. Solute means salt. It is passing out, and that solute will actively throw out in this region, in this thick segment of loop of Henle. Now descending limb of loop of Henle, so we can say this descending limb of loop of Henle is only permeable for water, not permeable for the salt, because salt is not coming out. So this part is permeable for, this is permeable for water H2O, and impermeable for electrolyte means no salts is coming out. Okay, this is permeable for water, not for salt. Salt is not coming out. So this is the function of loop of Henle. Okay, this is passively means this is osmotically, osmosis. This is osmosis process. By osmosis process, the water will come out. Now we can understand the role of distal convoluted tubules. What is the function of distal convoluted tubule? Now role of this distal convoluted tubules. What is the role of, what is the function of? This is function of or role of distal convoluted tubules. Role of DCT, distal convoluted tubule. What is the function of distal convoluted tubule? See, this is descending limb of loop of Henle. This is ascending limb of loop of Henle. This region is the loop of Henle. One more question. The loop of Henle generates and maintains the hyperosmolar condition in the inner medullary interstitial region. Suppose we can dissect it, we can remove it, we can remove this section of loop of Henle kidney tubule, means nephron. We can remove the loop of Henle of the nephron. What will happen on the concentration of the urine? Is it highly concentrated? The urine concentration will be high or low when it will pass out? The concentration of eliminated urine will be higher or lower? When you will remove this, it will, since the role of this one is to maintain the hyperosmolar condition, when you are removing it, it means you are diluting the urine. Okay, means large volume of urine will pass out. Here PCT will be connected with the DCT, large amount of the water will pass out. It cannot be maintained in hyperosmolar condition. Okay, now this role, this entire region of this loop of Henle, this entire part and some part of the collecting duct is watertight region. This is watertight region, watertight part. It cannot allow water to move out due to absence of aquaporin channel. But we know this is the distal part of This is distal part of DCT, this is proximal part of DCT. From here there is the movement of water and electrolyte into the peritubular capillaries. This is peritubular capillaries, peritubular capillaries. There is the movement of water and electrolyte from this region to here. How it is possible? So there is a certain condition, this is watertight condition, it cannot easily remove out osmotically or passively remove out the water and actively remove out the electrolyte from this region. Then this condition permits some of the hormone to come over here and makes channel, proteinase channel, active proteinase channel to pass out the electrolyte and some of the channel to remove out water. Okay, this is the principal cell or main cells of the cuboidal epithelium. This is cuboidal epithelium having less number of brush border epithelium, brush border of microvilli. So here there is the low concentration. Here 100 milliosmol is passing out. Then it will pass DCT. There is a large mechanism of formation of channel here. This will form aquaporine 2 and 3 type of channel. This is aquaporine channel, and here the water will, there is a concentration here, this will absorb the water. So water will pass out. Which hormone will form this aquaporine? Condition creates that will bring this ADH, and second hormone aldosterone. These two will help in reabsorption of water and electrolyte from distal part. This is distal part of DCT, from this region of the DCT. Here this will allow the water to pass out. H2O will move here. First the water will be absorbed here, it will add here, and then there is low concentration here. This will absorb water osmotically and water will move on. Similar type of phenomena will happen here also. This aldosterone will help in reabsorption of Na plus and Cl minus chloride. Okay, so there is the conditional reabsorption of water and electrolyte, sodium ions, bicarbonate ions, and there is the selective secretion of some materials also from the interstitium into the cells, into the lumen of this DCT. Here some of the K plus NH3 and H plus ion will add here. This H plus ion will combine with chlorine and then it will turn into HCl. So here in distal part of DCT we can say urine turns acidic. Here we can use the filtrate as urine, we can use the term urine. So here the filtrate will turn into urine and the urine turn into acidic condition due to formation of HCl. Okay. Now role of this one, conditional reabsorption of H2O and electrolyte. Electrolytes means Na plus, Cl minus, SCO3 minus, like this, and selective secretion of what? Here K plus, H plus and NH3. Urine turns acidic in this segment. Urine filtrate turns acidic due to formation of HCl. HCl. So therefore we can say filtrate as urine in DCT. Say filtrate as urine in DCT. Okay. The whole mechanism we will study in regulation of GFR and regulation of kidney function.